Welcome back everybody to the Caturday show. Johnny here, and today, guys, we have a guest that needs very little introduction because of course she's already been on the channel. This is AREVYA, our friend who's also a streamer, of course, wonderful streamer. If you haven't watched our previous conversation, it was a great conversation about streaming and a couple other topics. Today, however, we're doing a spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII. So if you haven't played and you don't want any spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Remake or the original game, go away for an hour, come back after. We're going to be playing some Souls and chatting. But if you want to stick around and hear our thoughts on the remake, how it compares with the original, our enjoyments and disappointments with the game, stick around. It's going to be a great conversation. I really haven't had a chance to talk about this with anybody in depth, because I was just trying to avoid spoilers. So today we're going all out. AREVYA is someone who hadn't played the original back in the day. She recently played it entirely on her channel and also played the remake when it came out. So it's going to be very interesting to get that counterpoint of someone like myself who played it way back in the day and has memories of it, probably rose-tinted glasses, compared to you know, what AREVYA, I know she enjoyed the game, but certainly some elements I may be idealizing. It will be a fun conversation, and I hope you're down for that. Fuyu, how's it going, man? Welcome in. I totally understand that. Fuyu, again, if you want to avoid spoilers, go away for an hour and come back, but we'll try to keep it light. But we're going to go deep, and we're going to talk about stuff. And with that out of the way, I'm going to get AREVYA on the call because I'm very excited to get this started. So here we go. Calling AREVYA.
Yes.
Yes, AREVYA is live with us. Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, my friend. How are you doing today?
I am doing phenomenal. AREVYA, I've been looking forward to this. I've had a good day already today, but this is going to top it off. And like I was saying, I haven't had a chance to discuss things in a lot of depth with anybody.
Yes.
And VZ, thank you for the host, and hello, how's it going? Annie, what's up, guys? Hi from Luna. Anne, that's your mom?
That's my mom, yeah.
Yes, AREVYA mom, much love. I hope you
welcome.
enjoy the conversation, and give Luna a good hug from me as well. Okay, so, you know, let's get into it because we got a lot to cover, and I want to get your thoughts on a few things. So let's start, maybe like go beginning to end when we look at, you know, what the new game has to offer, and we maybe can compare a little bit. And then in the end, I want to go over what your thoughts are for the next games, what you want to see in them. What are maybe some of your theories or speculation of, you know, maybe some different takes that we might see?
Yeah.
So let's start overall. Give me your thoughts. Did you enjoy it overall? How do you think it compares against the original?
It was so good. It was sort of a masterpiece. But I had some things I didn't like, but overall it's a strong 9 out of 10. Maybe, yeah, between 8 and 9 out of 10. It is an insane amount of work they have put into it, and you can feel it while you're playing. So that is a really good thing. I really enjoyed how we learned more about different characters. So from like the original Barrett in the original was for me a bit meh, but I'm all Team Barrett now. Forget Team Aerith, forget Team Tifa. I'm Team Barrett now. It's all going to go that way. So yeah. So we learned some things were a bit weird, but also I'm a, you know me, my positive self are going to go, well, we will see how they are going to solve this. But yeah, I liked it. How did you find it?
I loved it. Honestly, if you had asked me like 2 years ago when we knew they were working on this, what do I expect? I expected actually way less than what we got, because I thought that it would be very difficult to recreate the story and just even the music. I thought, I had the intuition they were gonna like butcher the songs and do like just new stuff basically. And instead, what we got for me was like a very faithful and a very complete representation of the original material in a new and revised way, and you know, reimagining some systems and things. But when it comes to like the art, the characters, and again including music and all of that, I feel that it works as well as it did in the original. Every time a character is on screen, their theme pops, and you know, it's for me it works just as well as in the original.
Absolutely. And I have to say, so I'm a crying kind of person, crying kind of gal.
Did you cry in the remake?
Yeah,
Nice.
I did. And the original one, the only time I started to cry was when we got the story about Iris' mom's husband that died in the war. That really hit me as something like, oh god, that is sad, boo-hoo. But I had to say the music made the tears come. Yeah. Oh, when they started the game and it was awful.
I was going into this, I was like, nah, you're a grown man, you're not gonna tear up. And I didn't, in my defense, okay? I didn't actually tear up. But immediately upon starting the game, you get that swell from like the theme, the like starting theme and the graphics and stuff. And I'm like, holy shit, it's already like pretty powerful.
Oh yeah. And they kicked it off with like Aerith standing with the flowers and just like looking up.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I was just like, I sat there just like, whoa, the tears came.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, and also her in like the church, when you fell to the roof, that was also quite epic. They like made that scene, which is also a scene I remember quite fondly from the original. Like they made it 100 times better.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I got a bunch of people. Just let me just say hi to Ivy and Idberit. Guys, how's it going? Welcome in. I hope you enjoy the conversation. So, okay, good. So we're on the same page overall. Now let's get into a bit of details. Because one thing you mentioned is character development. I think it's AJ Millen. What's up? I think character development is a big one that I think they've done better in this one.
Yeah.
With the side quests, you get a lot more fleshing out of, you know, Jesse, Wedge, right? Like some of the secondary characters. Did you also think that?
Yeah, I have to admit that when I started the game and we saw Jesse, Jesse and Wedge and every one of them, I actually didn't remember who they were. I was just like sitting there, just like, who are these guys again?
They don't stick with you as much.
They don't stick. Like they had some funny notes, and like Jessie had some funny things she said in original as well, but nothing like it stood out. And that I am highly impressed about. I am slightly a bit disappointed that we didn't get to see more of Tifa, but I do think the reason for that is because in the original as well, you didn't at this point know so much about Tifa. You are supposed to get to know her later after Aerith. So it is quite obvious so far. Like in the original, it was quite obvious that they wanted you to go for Aerith first, and then you're supposed to fall in love with Tifa. So you're supposed to like Aerith, and then we can go and talk about Tifa. And I see they go the sort of the same route here, except that Aerith seemed to be more all-knowing than in the original. She was just like, hey ho, let's go. I don't know what's happening, but we are going on an adventure. Yay! Like everyone did in the 90s. Pretty much.
Yeah. Although now, on the flip side, sorry, finish that thought.
Yeah, but just like, oh, now she has like, you know, she knows something, but she's not letting on what it is.
That's true. She seems to know more or be aware to a higher degree about the ancient people that she's one of them. I don't know if in the original she was aware that she was that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know if she said it explicitly or if it was one of those things a bit like vague. But in any case, you're right there. One of the changes that I like with Aerith is that she's a bit more humane in this. In the original, she was this kind of angel character, like totally pristine and pure and perfect, right? No, never, pooping what do you say, butterflies or pooping flowers, right? And in this, she's the first character to say shit. And I was taken aback. I was like, did they not only say shit in a Final Fantasy game, which is unheard of, but Aerith is the one to say it? I thought it was a nice touch to make her a bit more humane.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't know if you also felt it like that as well.
Yeah, but I also felt that I still have that a bit angel feel, but as you say, it's more humane. But also because we got to see her town or a sector 5, and we got to like see the kids, and we got to see why Iris, however you pronounce that.
Yeah, it's confusing. I don't know.
No, I don't know. But we get to know why is she loved? Why do people love her? And we get to know that it is because she is like she
takes care of everybody.
Yeah, in the society.
Yeah, exactly.
They need her. She does everything. Like, she helps everyone, and she is a support that they don't get for anywhere else. And it sort of sometimes seemed like Sector 5 was a bit more poor than Sector 7. So I think that they needed it even more, because it didn't seem like they had anything except each other. So yeah.
Yeah, that, and I actually, one of my favorite surprise characters are the teacher at the childcare. So it's the black lady with the cool hair, right? She's got the pointy hair, and at first she's just a teacher. I think in the original game she's not even a thing, and in this, she talks to you vaguely about, she has like a commitment at night or something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you mean? You're a teacher. What do you got a date or something? But then later on, of course, you find out that she's like, she's working in this, it's not really a strip club, is it? It's like a dance club. She's dancing as this kind of very highly sexualized worker bee outfit, which is amazing when you run into her on that. It's just so embarrassing for her.
Yeah, but
I love that.
I feel like that is, it's sort of like hose into that fact that Final Fantasy is actually really good at pointing out real life situation, real life problems or cases. We know from real life that people that don't get enough money other places can do things like that as a secondary job.
True.
And I love that they didn't shame her for it. I know many games that have gone the shaming.
She seemed into it though. I think that was her passion. She was like, "Yo, this is my."
I'm going to do this. Yeah. And I was so like happy, because Cloud was a bit like, "Well, you do you, honeyboo."
yeah.
And I like that. I'm impressed by. It's the same on the honeybee. I was quite afraid that, because in the game or in the remake, you will see Cloud get cross-dressing or dressing as a woman, and I was afraid because somebody who knows so many people that are in the LGBT community,
right?
They were also afraid that what if they will butcher this and make it as a fun thing? It is fun to play, but it's not like a ha-ha fun.
No, some of those dudes took it serious, and women too. Just cross-dressing was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was, and they like made it out to be something big and something awesome, and I think that was really, really cool. That is like 2 thumbs up for Square Enix to have the ability to spot problems or cases in society, make and talk about them without talking down on them. That is really hard.
Yeah,
that is something everyone.
And it was a funny moment when Cloud is dressed and he's like, "Let's not talk about this."
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the top guy in the district was also like a cross-dresser guy, and it's so I like you say, I think I like how they did that.
They show many different sides of it. Like you have Cloud that are embarrassed, and then you have the maybe burlesque owner. I don't know if you can call it burlesque place, but and you have like the dude over at the gym, Jules.
Yes, exactly. Or was it Andrea?
Andrew. Yeah.
So
something like that.
he very androgynous. I didn't know if it was a he or a she, and that's fine. I would just make sure to get his correct pronouns because he could kick my ass, or she.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Jules over at the gym?
Yeah, the one you like one of the people
dogs?
you yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's Jules.
Okay,
oh my
gotcha.
God, it was so hard. Jules are the hardest fight in all of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. Holy shit. I had a hard time in that minigame when the buttons disappear and the timing changes. Oh man.
Damn, it took me like 20-30 minutes to do it. It was insane.
Yeah. I found it very hard as well. But VZ says something that I found interesting, that yes, Sephiroth's theme is like one that they changed a little bit. You know, the original is always like you get the Sephiroth line, right? Popping up all the time. And it's a bit different here. I thought it worked fine. But in my stream, I just set it myself every time the theme popped and made it work like that. Itbereed says, best quote from Cloud during cross-dressing scene. Yep, nailed it. Got it. Yeah, it was funny. I loved that whole chapter. I think the chapter in the walled city, for me, is one of the best parts.
Yeah,
it's so fun. You know, you get the hand massage parlor where you go in there, and at first you're like, what do you mean by a hand massage? Does it mean that you're using your hands to massage me? Or like you're massaging my hands, and it's, you know, it's a fun.
Yeah, but we got it instead of the hot tub scene, which I was a bit like, are they going to put in the hot tub scene?
Remind me of that, because I actually forgot about that part.
In the original game, you can go in when you come to Honeybee Inn. You can go and like look in the different doors, the same as you can do now. But you can also go in one of the doors, and if you go in the correct door, you can actually end up with a hot tub scene where you get naked or like with not so much clothes up in a hot tub with like 7 or 9 other guys. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't remember. Maybe I got the wrong door. God damn it.
And it's like it's one of those typical things in games where it's like, we know what you're thinking about, but we're not going to say it out loud.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing.
I mean, you know, Japan does a lot of that in the games, so
yeah. So I was a bit like, are they going to take that with? Is that going to be too much? But then they put in the with Madame M and introduced her as well. And to be honest, she is one of the best characters so far in the remake. Yeah. It was really cool. Yeah.
I love the different outfits as well, because you can choose Tifa's outfit basically, right? And you know, all that, it's so much. It feels like so much work and thought went into it. Like at every corner, to me, it's how it felt. Like there was a lot there. And does that kind of stuff, is that enough to make you want to replay it, for example? Or do you feel that, you know, one playthrough is enough?
I have the one thing that, like, if we're going to say, like, if I want to play it again, I think maybe not. And there is one reason for it, and that is the fact that they have gone from having a classical JRPG game and pushed it over to a action RPG game. Yeah. And it is nothing to put in between it. I am a retro gamer. I prefer the retro spectrum of games. Yeah. So I don't like action RPGs. I have played action RPGs and nearly none of them tickles my fancies, as they say.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, it was like, it is too much hack and slash.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I won't replay
Fair enough. Maybe let's talk about that a bit, because and yes, Itbereed, Don Corneo was really well done as well.
Oh yeah.
I did want to ask you about the combat, because as you said, I know that you're more into those kind of more retro games actually. So tell me about, obviously you said a bit about it, but how do you feel overall about it?
I'm disappointed. I have to say, I am. They said they were to put in something, but they had something lookalike on EC, but it's not the same. And to be honest, that is one of the reasons why it's not a 10 out of 10 for me. Like, the story is brilliant, the music is brilliant, the look is brilliant, the character is brilliant, but for me for me it sort of holds away the reason for using magic and summons. So I had like strong magical characters in the original one, and there was no reason to have it here. Like when you play it on normal, you absolutely can do a hack and slash run, and yeah.
So I think you're right that you could, but at the same time, I felt like it rewards you a lot if you dig in a bit and you you use some of the shortcuts, for example. So instead of just hack and slashing, if you're a bit more tactical about it, and you say, okay, I'm gonna use this attack to build up the stagger bar. When they're staggered, I'm gonna use this other one for heavy damage. I know that on this guy, I can use fire, for example, right, and do a lot of damage. But I know that if I'm controlling the character, I'm gonna get attacked. So I'm gonna. So that kind of stuff felt good to me.
Yeah, it was like I used it as well. So like I played a whole game and I had fun, but for me it was a bit like, meh. I am a strategical person as well, so for me just running around doing it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So when I started to enjoy it the most was when I got a bit more tactical about it, and but I feel what you're saying. It's very natural, I think, to just go with the flow and just do the hack and slash thing. Yeah, that's how I played quite a bit of it, to be honest.
Yeah, and like I also went over to the tactical place later on in the game, but it didn't give me. But I don't know if it's because I'm not a fan of this typical genre, or it's because the game is not well made. I can't differentiate both those two, but I don't feel like the game gave you enough reason for like, why should I want to get all the summons? Why should I want to fight Shiva? Why should I level up this? Why should I use any other of like the things I have? That hey,
yeah, I feel you. I think the summons, I wish there were more of them, is what I would say. I love Ifrit and Shiva. The animations and the fantastic. For me, I mean, I was like, whoa, every time they do the special. For me, incredible. The chocobo stuff was okay. It's kind of on the funny side. What I didn't like about the summons is, again, I wish there were more of them, but also how few in between the times where you can actually use them. It felt like a lot of times you couldn't use the big summons. I don't know if it's... I don't know exactly why, what the condition is for you to use the big summons, but there were many fights where you just couldn't. You could use the small ones, like the chalk chick stuff. Yeah.
I do think you had to like struggle, and then you can use the big one. It was weird.
No, there are fights where they're not allowed. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. And to me, they felt very frequent. Other people said it wasn't as frequent. I think it's just a perception thing. But it's just kind of noticeable, like you have these awesome summons, and it feels like you can barely ever use them. It felt that way to me. But I do like them. Yeah.
And I don't know. I also am a bit disappointed in the way of taking, like, okay, now I'm going to ramble into some stuff that maybe not everybody cares about, but I care a lot about how gaming industry is inclusive. And they said, like, yeah, okay, we are going to give you, because the original game, the nice thing about most of our role-playing games is that you can play them even though you don't have the best reaction time.
They're very accessible. Yeah.
They're very accessible. They have made a very accessible game onto a not so very accessible game. Then they promised us to make it accessible, and then they didn't. So that grinds me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because like you don't say it then. Like if you're not, just be honest about it. No, we are not. Like, no, we are not going to put in the old system.
I was surprised because I was expecting exactly what you said, which is like, everybody's welcome, you can play this in your sleep kind of thing. And I gotta tell you, I mean, I've played every Souls game, but I got some like difficulty spikes in this that kicked my ass. I remember that someone mentioned the house. There's a couple other times in the game where I didn't have the correct spells for the weaknesses, and I got really wrecked. And I had to try like 2 or 3 times to get it. So
yeah, and that was also like, I felt like the magic was a bit like, it wasn't good enough made, to be honest. I hope they will fix it a bit so it's a bit more usable in the future. We have to see though if they will make changes.
Oh,
like that.
Was there an easy mode? I thought it was only normal. Did they have an easy mode to select? I think Idberit is saying he dropped it too easy. I just played normal. I didn't even look if there was an easy mode. Maybe there is.
Yeah, it is.
There is? Okay, so at least... Okay, good. So at least there's that. It sounds like you played in normal as well, did you?
I played in normal as well.
And overall it was fine. Like, it felt challenging, but good. There were some places where it got a bit frustrating. Especially because fights are long, right? Some fights are long, so repeating that is a bit frustrating.
I saw Itberit said earlier, like, these spikes. Sometimes it was a bit like, oh no, I have to grind. But then again, it's a Final Fantasy game though, so what do you expect?
Right, exactly.
That is not new, or that is how it has always been, so yeah.
Yeah. Andy, how's it going? That is not real snow, but I'll take it as a compliment that we've been convincing with our green screen technique here. Yeah. Eternal Dust, what's up? So okay, good. Let's move on, because I got a lot I want to cover with you here. Okay, one of my pet peeves in the game. I have only very few quibbles in the game, honestly. Overall, I'm just super happy. The one thing that kind of annoyed me in a practical way was that you had to heal manually after every fight. Unless there was some hidden mechanism that I missed. I had to, like, go to the character and cast Cure manually on everybody to heal up.
Yeah, I missed the tent.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm split in between if I like the benches or not, because they have, so if you haven't played it, they have taken away, typically they had in original a question mark, you could go to the question mark, then you could heal there, but it looked weird, like a random question mark, big ass question mark in the real world. Now they had like benches, so normal benches. But the thing is that, the weird thing is that you were the only one, so Cloud were the only one that sat down on the bench, the rest just stood behind.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Looked at him.
Yeah, it's like, imagine Tifa all battered from battle and stuff. Yeah. What a gentleman, right? It's like, get out of the way, Tifa, give me the bench, right?
Me and my big ass sword is going to sit here on this bench.
Although, I do like the animation, like how he puts the sword to the side, and it was well done.
That was nice, yeah. And like the benches, so I wish they had tents. I wish they had like you can use it on the bench. Like, why would?
Although I guess in their defense, the tent was only usable out in the open world. You couldn't use it, I think.
You could use it.
Could you use it anywhere? Okay.
Somebody in Final Fantasy is going to go. Nay!
Oh no, we got it wrong. It's okay. It's okay, guys. It's okay. Okay, let's move on, because I have more stuff for you here. Okay, Zack flashbacks. In general, before we go into Zack, just flashbacks in general is a big addition to this, because in the original game, you don't get to see the flashbacks as much. You just see Cloud, you know, losing it. He's like, oh, like Frodo, right? And, but in this, you actually see the flashbacks. You see Sephiroth a bunch, which in the original, I don't know if you ever see Sephiroth until the second disc.
No, you don't. Or maybe once or twice. It's
in passing,
not like this. Yeah,
but like here, obviously, they want to show you the overarching narrative more, because the game is gonna end, right? As opposed to just insert next disc and continue. So that makes sense. In the same way, it makes sense to include Sephiroth in the final fight, which we can talk about later, instead of having that, you know, generic end of road fight in the So this one's a bit more meaningful for the overarching narrative.
I liked it. I know some people didn't like it, and you saw a bunch about Genova, a bunch before you would in like the original. Then it would take some time, but you actually saw it now quite early. And some people didn't like it. Some people liked it. I liked it. I think it was cool.
Yeah, it was long. Yeah, the fight was long. I died once in the end, and I was like, my dude, I have to repeat the whole shebang.
Yeah. But that's typical. I feel like that happened in original with me as well. So
That's true.
I feel like some of the negative things is also negative things that are typical of the Final Fantasy games. So I'm not going to be too harsh about it.
That's fair.
Yeah, it is a remake in the end.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, but tell me about like Zack, because Zack definitely didn't appear in this part of the story in the original. We only see this later when they go into.
Don't learn anything about him. You learn something that
that's the interesting part, because people who didn't play the original game don't even know who the hell he is, and they must be confused as fuck, because this guy that looks like Cloud, has the same sword and gear as Cloud, is showing up. What are you saying? Are you saying that that's Cloud? Well, what's the connection? Don't you think people are going to be confused?
Yeah, but it's impossible, and it's in a positive way. Like how you are confused when you saw Game of Thrones season 1 and you haven't read the books. You're a bit like, who was that? You saw somebody and were just like, And that is part of. It's more of a series, so this is more like a TV show. So things will be introduced without the person sitting and watching it will understand it. And I do think some people forget that, because many people know the whole story, and more than the whole story because they have played all the other games.
Right.
But you don't need to know the answer to everything when you know there will come a second one.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I think that. Yeah, okay. Look, that's fair. I think you've convinced me. I think that if I was in the shoes of someone who simply had no idea like who that guy is, I would be a little pissed that they didn't give me anything to go on in the entire game. But, that's a personal thing, right? Some people do enjoy that kind of thing.
But it do happen, though, a lot of times in games that have like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It does happen. So I don't know. I didn't think about it before other people started talking about it. I actually think it was really nice, because it got more like I think if you're whole new to the series, you're going to be like, but why? Who is that? Because even if you have lived underneath a rock, you know part of what Final Fantasy 7
That's
are.
true.
Like,
that's true.
So I think that was a smart thing, because I do think a lot of people are going to go, well, can I read about him? And then they're going to see Advent Child, and then they're going to play. So they have given you it's a tease. And I do think it's a good tease.
Yeah.
But maybe not for the fans, the original fans, but it's a way to hook the new ones in the better way, I do think.
Yeah. Do you like Zack? Like, and his, connection to the story?
Yeah, like original, I think that was really nice. When I first I learned about what he was, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? That's so cool. So I think that is going to be nice. And we do not know if that Zack saw from the outside is in the same time as we are now. We don't know if that is Zack is 20 years before or 10 years before. Like, we don't know. They are, so yeah. Yes, I like that.
So the whole thing with the original game, again, it's been decades, right, for me, but just to make sure I got things straight, is that Zack was in Soldier alongside Cloud. So when Cloud joined, right, Zack was already like a well-established soldier dude.
Yeah, he was Class 1 soldier.
Class 1 soldier with Sephiroth.
Yeah, he is what Cloud says he is.
Exactly. So I think Zack dies, right? And then Cloud basically takes over basically his
Cloud persona. Is just a normal soldier. Many of them you fight throughout the game. So he's just a normal dude. And then he gets convinced by Sephiroth, or he gets brainwashed or whatever. Sephiroth have the power to brainwash only Cloud, and he brainwashes him into having Zack's memories. So that is why a lot of the story, like a lot of things doesn't add up when Tifa asking the question. And I like that, because you see a lot of time Tifa goes a bit like, you said what?
You see, I didn't even remember that bit about the brainwashing. That's interesting.
No. Yeah, I saw a YouTube video earlier today. So I had to look up.
No, but it's interesting because you've played it recently, and there's a lot of vague stuff in the original game. Like, this wasn't really spelled out that much. because I think I would remember it if it was just like, hey, this is what's going on. They tell you these things, but more in a subtle way.
Yeah. Like you have your that is actually one thing I like about the original story. And by the way, Tombaman, that is the chat. Tombaman said like if Katsi, Juffy, and Red we know will be playable. He was supposed to be playable in this game as well, but then they took it out because he got introduced so late. So I don't know the rest, but Dogo Red will be
Dogo Red. Oh my god.
Yeah. Dogo Red.
Heresy.
I have the emotes. There we go.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. But I feel like I have one thing I like and one thing I don't like. And what I really, really like is that if you take like the original one, I have a pen. So if this is the story from like A to B of the original one, I feel like the remake doesn't go like this and then go in again. It just hovers around the original story quite well. So you get more, but it's not like, oh, we're going on a new quest we never heard about. It's like sort of understandable what it means. Yeah,
it takes these pieces and it flashes them out a bit more, I think, which is nice.
Yes. But what I didn't like so much in this one is that, and this might again be a me thing, but I read everything. So when I play the original one, I read everything that is on a screen when I play a game. And I make voices to them, and I have fun with like giving everyone different voices, and like it gets to be like a show kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I felt like in the original, you do talk a lot, and you have so many different options to how to answer sentences. You didn't have that in the remake. You have like the most important thing, but all like the other ways of talking are set. So if somebody asks you something in the remake, you can't answer. In the original one, if somebody asked Cloud, you always had like 2 or 3 options to how to answer.
One of them was always not interested.
Yeah, no. so yeah, and that was so nice because I felt, even though we have learned more about the characters, I feel like I have learned more about them for afar because you didn't.
But sorry, go on, finish that.
Yeah, it's more that maybe that is a modern game kind of problem that they can't have that many options, but I wish they had. I wish they did a more like a Fallout route where you actually can do a bit more.
So I think that they could have done it because other modern games do it, but I think it was a conscious decision of giving you this, very well-established narrative with characters having their established personalities. Because what happens when you give a lot of different answers you can give is that the character's personality is not established. You can make it your own in some way. And even if you don't have voice acting, then, all the more, because you imprint your own stuff onto the character.
Definitely.
Which I think is why a lot of people really liked Cloud, because he was like a silent empty shell that you poured all of your stuff into, and you became, associated with him. And in here, he's his own character. He's got his personality.
Definitely.
So for me, I actually liked it more because I felt like I got to know the real Cloud as opposed to the version of Cloud in my head.
Oh, that's
if
a
that
really
makes
good
sense.
point. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, okay, I haven't thought about it that way, and that is actually a really good
It's
point.
a trade-off, though, as you say, right? The other stuff is cool too when you can.
Yeah, because I feel like you get more into the story in that way, but at the other side, now you, as you said, you learn the real one. But yeah, good thing.
Yeah, I'm Tom. I'm very excited for Vincent as well. Vincent is maybe my favorite character, aside from Tifa, obviously. There was also a Vincent Valentine game on PS2, which was really cool as well. But I'm hoping it will be awesome. Is there a character you're really looking forward to that we haven't seen yet?
No, I don't think that. I'm just really looking forward to the Golden Saucer.
Golden Saucer, all the mini games and stuff.
Yeah.
The date, remember that date?
I still want to go on a date with Barrett.
I was gonna say you're gonna go with Barrett,
Yeah, he's my boy. Oh yeah,
Barrett Thirst Club.
There we go. I miss actually. That is one thing though. But with the fight, if you go back a bit to there, we didn't. Well, sometimes Barrett get us like the fanfare, like da 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 da. Da.
Yeah.
And I had to say, sometimes that was really nice because I missed that so much. It was like, okay, the fight is done.
Yeah.
Aren't you going to sing for me?
I think that's a nice way of doing it too, because even people, we talked about this in my podcast yesterday, even people who don't know Final Fantasy VII, they know that theme.
Yeah.
So when Barrett sings it like that, you're like, oh, I know that, I got it, right? And it feels like a natural, organic thing.
So yeah, I have like a sort of a fan theory, well, my own theory kind of deal though. So I, which I talked about with my chats, what I am going to see what you think about it. So the Wisps, was it that what they were called? The things that looked like the mentors from Harry Potter.
The ghosts, the planet ghosts? Yeah.
Yeah, wisps or whatever they were called. I actually, when the start, we talked about what if they are supposed to sort of be the fan base or the players that forces the game to keep a path. So it's like all the original fans and all the original players keeping the game on the way that it was supposed to be from the start.
Also, whenever it was about to maybe go differently, it's like, hey, this is the direction.
Yeah, this is how we played it. This is how you're supposed to do it. So I was just like, it sounds weird. I don't think they actually did it, but it sort of
that's a
like
fun interpretation,
yeah, a homage to the fans.
Yeah.
It's what to the story.
Needless to say, the ghost stuff is new, right? So that wasn't in the original. And I think I was a little confused by it at first.
In the start, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to say like Harry Potter expectum patronum on them. Didn't work.
Didn't work.
Quite disappointed.
So yeah, they developed some kind of immunity to that after getting wrecked by it over and over. But I think they do a good job of like establishing the overarching narrative a bit better, because in the original Disc 1, you still have no idea overall what's going on. But here you kind of get, Team Planet Earth versus Team Genova. And you get this clear idea that Aerith and the Ghosts are on Team Planet Earth. And then, you have Sephiroth and Genova and Hojo, I guess, on Team Genova. What's interesting is that Sephiroth talks about the planet like he's protecting the planet, right? So I think there's like he's kind of deluded there, right? Because what he is a direct product of Genova and the alien stuff.
Yes.
Trying to basically take over and, right.
And it was really cool. I have to say that I was reading up a bit of what demands a classical game or a classical book. Like, how can you tell if something is classical? So if you have like, why can we say Shakespeare is classical? And some people online talked about the fact that if something is classical, it's sort of, you can take it and you can put it in any time you want in human history. And you put it down and you say, hey, this still fits in. So if you read like Jane Austen, you will still feel like she has one of those, like you can see what she wants even with today's eyes.
Yeah.
And I feel like Final Fantasy VII is a sort of a classical game. A lot about what, like, that resources, who is right, how, like, dying planet, how are we going to save it, which way are we going to take, many people screaming against each other of how they're going to solve it. And also it was nice for one time having a game where they got really called a terrorist group. Like, they get really pointed out being a terrorist group, and you get to like be on the side where a government actually goes against you and use all its power to get out news that are not true, and you get out like it was enjoyable, nice of how a world can be. And I was sitting there just like, this is impressive. This is why Final Fantasy VII is so good, and why I loved Final Fantasy VII, the original one, even though it's 20 years since it came out, because I can still understand everything they talk about. I can put it into my everyday life and like say, oh yeah, that was a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really, really lovely of them.
Yeah, for sure. Ferret, what's up? How's it going? Okay, so let's get into some of the ending stuff and a bit of our thoughts for the future and expectations and hopes and all of that. So first off, you said you liked the ending for this, but do you have any thoughts on? Obviously, it's a different ending than the original one.
Yeah.
When it comes to like this one versus this.
Yeah. So in the original one, they just travel off a ledge after the motorcycle fight. Then they are outside Midgar, and then they go out in the real world. Exactly. Then Disc 2 starts. So people know that. But here you have an epic battle with the wisps and some alien and some Kingdom Hearts.
I actually got a bit confused because what's this singularity stuff, right?
I was just like, what?
It was a bit like we're making Sephiroth appear, basically.
Yeah.
Like, long story short, we have to make him show up and fight you.
Yeah. But I like that, because when I played original as a grown-up now, I'm just sitting there like, why is Sephiroth so cool? Why is he so powerful? Because we have none evidence of it. So when I was done with the game, and the last following original game isn't that epic as well, so I was just like, well, this mediocre dude, good looking, but very mediocre fighter. Great hair. L'Oreal. L'Oreal's pretty boy #1. But I'm sitting there going like, was that all? But here you got your ass whooped.
Yeah, he's on another level, right? You don't even know what's going on. Like, this guy can fly, and he's like hurling buildings at you. What the? Yeah.
But that sliding thing, when Cloud slides down that building, and you have to jump from building to building.
It's so well done.
That was Kingdom Hearts, though. That was so Kingdom Hearts feel.
Yeah, that was awesome. How do you view, like, okay, so when you think about like some of the other big beats that we know are gonna happen in the story that we're gonna see in the next episodes, are there any particular ones that you're either looking forward to or maybe worried about, like that? How are they gonna recreate that or something?
So I saw people saying like in the end you can sort of see Sephiroth like taking the wisp into himself, and then we're talking about, does that mean that the next are not going to keep up to original story that much? So some people means that since he took the wisps that are supposed to keep us on course, so we know that the fates wisp or whatever are supposed to hold us the right way to save the world. So does that mean that the game is going to open up and we can have like different ways to go and end up in the same route in the end? I am curious. I have faith, though. What they have given us here is a masterpiece, so I will give them that. I'm not going to be angry before I know anything.
Yeah. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I mean, I think it's a challenge, like the next one, because it opens up so much in terms of, I don't know if they are gonna go open world or maybe change it to like a hub world kind of deal.
I think they are going to be a bit more like Final Fantasy 13, which for me is positive because I really loved that game. So in a positive way, they are going to hold your hand a bit more. But as you said, that may be so that you can learn characters a bit more. But I do think so when you can like differ. So do you want to go to Wutai or do you want to go to Chocobo Farm? Like you can choose where to go, but you can like, it's a bit, most likely.
I would be surprised if you have that level of freedom to choose where to go first. I think it's going to be more guided than that. And then in that same thought, also answering what Tom was saying, I don't think there will be branching paths at all. And definitely not with Aerith. So, you know, Aerith, what has to happen with her will happen for sure.
And if they do that, that is actually something I will be angry about if they don't. Like, they should.
They're not going to change any, like...
No. They said so as well.
Yeah,
they said the story is going to be the same, but we are maybe getting to the end in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
So they said,
So when it comes to like the actual ending of the first game, the stuff with, you know, fighting Sephiroth and stuff, I think in that fight, basically, again, super groggy on the details, right? But so you're fighting Sephiroth because Sephiroth is bringing down meteor, right? That meteor spell that's gonna basically destroy the planet, I think, right? Did I get that right? Or
yeah. So and what is weird though, so people have like, is that you get to see a lot of flashback. Everybody gets to see flashbacks. So Red see flashbacks of him running with his kids, which is the start of Advent Children or whatever that, or the end of Final Fantasy VII. So and then then Aerith says something about if we go through, all of the things you wish for will not come true. So I do think people are a bit afraid that that means that things that happen in the original one are not going. So we effed up by going through to that fight.
Yeah.
Some people think that, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It will be interesting to see how they do that.
Yeah.
That final sequence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but all in all though, what are your, like, how will you score this game? All in all.
I score it easily like a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of what I wanted it to do, it basically does everything. And, you know, that 0.5 for me is just like the small quibbles I have with it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and for like, I can see it as a masterpiece, but my personal preference drags it down to 9 because of the fighting. It is such a big deal for me because I don't like games like that. So, as you said,
I guess the fact that you liked it so much despite all of that.
Yeah.
So, what are your, do you have any like speculation or theories, anything that you're expecting?
I do think we're going to learn a bunch more about Tifa. We did that in original Whistle, but I do think we're going to learn a lot more about it. So we saw Wedge and we saw the other guy. What is his name? Not Jesse, but the third guy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he survived. That did not happen in the original one.
By the way, Jessie, we don't know if she survived, right?
No, we don't know. And I sort of feel like she's going to survive, and then I sort of feel like they will die on a later base, but on a more good story kind of driven reason. So they will help us to get the original story. Maybe it will be, that would be quite cool if it's like you have to kill them to save the planet kind of deal.
Oh,
because they're supposed to die in the original one, so you have to do it. That would
to be honest with you, the whole thing with the plate dropping and killing people, I barely remembered that from the original. I remembered it happened, but I don't remember it as a big thing. And in this, it was this massive thing. Not only a lot of people died, and you get to talk to some of those people in the side quests, but also, like, you know, Wedge and Jesse, right? You actually think all of them died. Then you learn that Wedge and the other dude survived. I'm still like, I don't know about Jesse. I like Jesse, right? She's very thirsty
really
and fun. So bring back Jesse.
Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't reveal whether or not she died, but it's nice that I cared about it, to be honest.
Yeah, because this game is a lot darker than the original one. I sort of feel like in the first, like the first bomb, when the first bomb goes off, I talked a lot about the fact that they had like 3 typical characters. The one that just stands there staring, the one that turns into like sort of animal going around, don't know what to do, and the last one like in a panic mode. And I got like chills because it was so realistic. We had like a bombing thing here in Norway from some 10 years ago, and that is what we saw on the television, people going around, and it was so realistic. I was sitting there like, damn, this game is dark.
Yeah.
And when Marlene cried because she didn't want her dad and the plate was about to fall down, and like, I had to like calm her down. I started crying like an owl. I was just like, oh, she's so bad. I couldn't deal because that was impressive. They gave it like that is how a kid will react. The screaming, the crying, the like soul crushing. So
it was like
the start.
It was intense. They did a good job with that, because it was definitely memorable.
Yeah, what are going to happen with Vincent's wife though? If this is the start, how are we going to feel when we see how she dies?
Yes. Yeah. That's a really cool. Vincent is a great character. I hope they flesh him out because there's a lot of interesting stuff in his story.
I do think he is the most liked guy character in this game, to be honest. One of them, at least. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Like, some of the stuff I don't know if they will do or not is some of the late game stuff, some of the optionals. So you have, chocobo breeding. Obviously, that probably not going to be a thing.
Oh, I hope so.
You know, like the golden chocobo where you could go everywhere.
Yeah, I hope so.
Did you get to do any of the like late game stuff?
No, I didn't do it. Okay. No, I didn't do it. Like,
because that's a heavy grind to do that kind of stuff.
But I hope they will have something like that, because a lot of modern games have this kind of base building aspect, like Fallout did. And I think that is a positive thing, because you home in on a lot of people that are like me with things like base building. You have people that go haywire off that. And if you can have like a base building with chocobos, so
that would be amazing. I'm a sucker for base building. I hadn't even thought about the possibility. That would be amazing if they do it.
That, like, you could make like, oh my god, if you can have your own chocobo farm. Because in the original, you can buy a summer house.
I'm getting flashbacks from your reaction on stream when you went into the chocobo farm, and you were actually losing it because there was like a chocobo saying in the. I love that.
Yeah, you can buy a summer house in the original one. So why wouldn't they open up something like this?
Yeah, in Costa del Sol, right? You could buy a house.
300,000 gil it cost you. I remember, because I grind for it a lot of time. Yeah. So yeah,
there's a lot of stuff like the Ultima weapons, Ruby weapon, Emerald weapon. I don't know if they will add all of that, because that was like really heavy JRPG stuff in the end to get to. But
but maybe they will. Maybe they will. Like, if they do that, they will hook me back on a bit more, because it's the JRPG sign a bit more. So we will see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've covered a ton of stuff. So, did you have anything final that you wanted to add? Maybe tell us a bit about what's going on your channel, and what people can expect to see over there.
Yes, they can expect to see a lot of fun at the moment. We just hit over 600 followers. So if you guys want to see my boyfriend again, which for some reason many people ask for my boyfriend, he is going to have a stream with us again. That's our celebration stream. And I am starting myself a new YouTube channel. So when I am in my new apartment, then I will do a lot of YouTube content. And as well, we are playing a lot of Hollow Knight at the moment, and going back to a bunch of old retro games like Tomba, which is, that is not many people heard about, but the ones who love it, they love it.
Nice. Are you digging Hollow Knight? It's a bit difficult, isn't it?
Digging Hollow Knight. I don't find it difficult. So far.
Okay.
Beware. So far. I do feel like it's not that difficult. Like, it isn't. When I sometimes it's okay things being difficult if it's fair difficult. It's not okay being difficult if it's like, I want you to cry. Then I get annoyed. But I feel like it's a fair difficulty. It's not, they haven't like made it so that it's impossible.
Okay, good.
So far, but I have only played it twice. So who knows? Maybe I'm going to cry next time we talk.
Okay, we'll see. I'll definitely try to catch it, because I like that game a lot. So listen, it's been a pleasure having you on, AREVYA.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it
for having me here. It was awesome. Yes.
Okay, well, we'll talk soon, and have a good rest of your weekend. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, that's AREVYA, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Always lovely to chat with her. Let me pop over to my gaming PC here, and we're gonna get some Souls action going. Bearded Cyanide, how are you doing today? And some of the new faces as well. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you want to stick around, we're gonna be playing some Souls. we're in the middle of a Dark Souls 3 Cinders mod run. For today, I wanted to do a bit of Dark Souls 2 because it's been a long time since I played it, and actually I enjoyed that game quite a bit despite its issues. So I thought it would be fun to do a bit of a chill Dark Souls 2 day today. So